Let's bring back our good friend Jordan Schachtel as we continue on with your weekly look at the week that was. Let's get to issue 3. What's one thing Republicans could fix right now that would help them in the 2026 midterms?
Last week, in the middle of the night, the Senate passed a bill that funds DHS without funding ICE and CBP, a bill that House GOP leaders called a joke before attempting to pass their own funding bill. Well, those House leaders, notably Mike Johnson, are now tucking tail. Johnson released a joint statement with Senate Majority Leader John Thune, announcing support for the funding bill from the Senate that doesn't fully fund ICE and CBP, and again promising those entities will be fully funded via reconciliation. The Save America Act, seemingly nowhere on the agenda.
All right. So listen, the numbers are bad. All right. And normally I would take something, first of all, Fox News polling over the years has not been very good anyway, but I would take something like Fox News saying that Trump is upside down by 50 points with independents to say, puff, puff, pass, man. Puff, puff, pass. All right. But then we lost a special election in a state legislative seat 2 weeks ago in Trump's own district in Florida. And our base showed up, but we lost independents in that race by like 20 points and lost in Florida. So I'm inclined to think they may not be minus 50, but they're at least not where we need them to be, right? Scott Rasmussen, not to be confused with Rasmussen Polling. He did create it, but he sold it many years ago and has his own firm now. He's been showing polling that has shown essentially in the last week in particular, support for Operation Epic Fury is on the decline, right? And it makes sense, originally told people 4 to 5 weeks. We're at that juncture right now, all right? The jobs report today was very good. We should note that. I mean, way better than was forecasted. However, this happened under Biden, and it's happened a few times also under Trump, where it gets forecasted down a little bit later on, right? So I want to believe that that's great news, but, you got to wait a week or two to see if that forecast stands when the final numbers come out, right? So what can we control? What can we fix here, right? What is it? And Todd, I'll start with you.
Well, the key point, you said, what can we control that will help in the next election?
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to be Captain Obvious, but it's the SAVE Act, which is exactly why they won't do it. Because it's not just something people want as a obvious principle, very much like birthright citizenship, but then people will want to go out and be part of the experiment right away. All right, I would hope it would be a large voter turnout on the right to prove the point that this was necessary. Like, look, we are going to win all the elections, or it's going to be a lot easier if we just show up because they won't have their thumb on the scale with illegals. We can do that. It's the reason we're on recess right now is because the right doesn't want to. And as Steve has always said, they hate their base and they don't mind losing because wins for them are measured differently than they are for us. And
so you mean Republican leadership, because the right wants this very badly. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Yeah, all right. Aaron, go ahead. What do you think? What's one thing we could do that's achievable we could do?
I am trying, okay? I'm making a concerted effort here. I'm taking off my snark hat, my curmudgeon hat here. I am trying to actually do things, suggest things that are achievable with this Congress, okay? I'm trying. I just want to let that, I'm putting that out there. Because things that I would typically suggest, like, just get Democrats on the record on votes on hot button issues like trans, baby killing, all of that stuff, which John Thune in that interview with Fox News a couple of weeks ago said he doesn't want to do with the Save America Act because that was a possibility. You recall that. Mm-hmm. So things that are actually achievable. Here's one thing. The Charlie Kirk Act, an act of Congress condemning political violence. And anybody who actually, posits political violence. Maybe even specifically mention in the act Jay Jones in Virginia. How about that? Get the Democrats on the record on that. Maybe that's a layup. Maybe I'm thinking that the Democrats, would fall for that ploy. Something like that. That's achievable, right? Right? Could they do that? Would they do that?
I don't know.
I'm just at this point.
But if that's all we could, if that's all we could do, then we're
so
screwed.
low that I don't actually expect them to do anything. I don't. So I'm trying to look for the most effective symbolic victories.
All right, Jordan, floor is yours. What could they do?
As Aaron mentioned, we live in an era when the executive really dominates the legislative process too. Like even though Congress is supposedly independent from the White House, my sense is, and my sources on the Hill tell me, is that House leadership takes their cues from the White House. So it's really, I guess, about a comms and a prioritization thing. Like obviously the White House doesn't want to get blown away in the midterms either. It would be much more devastating directly for Congress, but the president doesn't want to be a lame duck in a handful of months, or just a completely dismantled lame duck if it goes poorly. So I think it's really just, it's not one specific bill that you could pass, but there needs to be a lot better of, unified message on Iran, on innovation, on, the future of America, just a general sense of positivity. Like in this TikTok, Instagram Reels era, it's just like all doom, gloom, Epstein, conspiracies, everything, everyone's out to get me. And a lot of unfortunately, there's select members of the Republican legislature that play into that and basically just, throw a nuclear bomb into any serious effort that is being made. So, it's a tough situation for, the speaker and for the Trump administration, but I think it's really, the biggest problem is the comms problem.
You're touching on something that I said to Todd and Aaron privately a few days ago, which is, let's just say in the next 5 minutes, Trump just said, you know what, we're done in Iran, did everything, we're coming home, putting all our focus here on at home. What's the agenda that we think they could move if they did that? You see, even if they did what some of our people want them to do and just say, all right, we're going to pack up, we did enough, killed enough of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, all right, Israel's safe for at least the next 10 years. And now the whole world knows that even the Gulf states hate Iran and don't want perpetual war in the Middle East. We proved our point, all right? And we've got Venezuelan crude now. We'll just put that on the market for ourselves. You guys figure out the Strait of Hormuz yourselves. We don't care. All right, just came home. We're going to focus on ourselves. Okay, let's say that happened. What agenda is movable if they did that? What is?
Well, we're being told by the Senate essentially here, and I know there's different, I know it's supposed to be strictly budgetary, but we're essentially being told by the Senate we can do anything we want through reconciliation. We're going to get more funding than we were even asking for via traditional funding bill for DHS and border protection, right? That's what they're telling us. We're going to get 3 years of funding for these particular aspects of ICE and CBP. So if we can do anything via reconciliation, and I know some of the things we can do, like policy-wise, that would get challenged in courts.
Well, that's if you even make it through the Senate. What's the call? It's not the sergeant at arms. I can't think of this. Whatever the parliamentarian, that looks after whether that even actually follows the rules of order or not.
Once again, like
so you could do anything, but I do one thing really quick. I've said it a million times. I'll say it again. Congress, with very, very, very limited exception, is always, for better or worse, a reflection of the people, not an aberration of it. Always, 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 with very few exceptions.
Todd, I'll give you the last word for the exit question. Go.
It's so obvious, and regarding education, our schools, yes, are largely funded by the states. But and I want to get rid of the Department of Education, but if we're going to have it, after what we've seen with COVID and transgenderism, and they are absolutely staffed by teachers' colleges that are led by communists and groomers. When's the last time we had a national discussion about that? See, there's all kinds of things we can do, and we just don't do them because their victories are different than ours.
Let's get to the exit question. Will they fix the one thing each of you said that you thought they could fix? Will they fix it?
No.
Aaron's a no.
No.
Todd, no. Jordan.
I hope so. I mean, there should be a sense of urgency because it's not looking good in the midterms right now. So I hope so. I'm torn about it.
Well, that brings us to the kicker topic, and you actually segued it, Jordan. When you talked about how much the House is in coordination with the White House on messaging. Well, we don't have a unicameral legislature. We have another chamber there. So if the House is in concert with the White House, who's the Senate in concert with then? What's the Senate working with then? And so that brings up this question. Ultimately, who really runs the Republican Party? Donald Trump or John Thune? Who really does?
Domestically, perception is reality amongst the people right now. It's clearly John Thune.
Why do you say that?
Because Donald Trump insisted rhetorically multiple ways what he wants, the SAVE Act, et cetera, and Thune not only doesn't sit there and feel any pressure to like humana, he went on vacation.
Yeah, sends everybody home.
There's not threatened at all, not going to do anything, not enough people paying attention to really care that, he doesn't feel. I looked, South Dakota has been hasn't had a Democratic part of its legislature since my senior year in college. Thune just keeps going back, doing it over and over and over to us because it's value added. He's going to do whatever the hell he wants to. He's invincible.
Well, they have John Curtis in Utah, the allegedly most red state in the union, doing that appearance last week on Amnesty, and the host was like, I thought we were going to argue, but no, I mean, you're completely every bit as left as I am on it. Yeah. Aaron.
Well, it's Thune, but if you take his word at face value, he doesn't control anything either. He's told you multiple times, we don't have the votes to do this. We don't have the votes to suspend the filibuster. We don't have the votes to even pass the Save America Act. He's telling you that he's not really in control, but he's definitely in more control than Trump is domestically.
You learned that from Ditch.
Yes. I didn't want to go off the board and do the cute thing where it's this option you didn't give me, but I was going to say Mitch McConnell.
Because this is the spirit of Ditch, basically. Yes. Yeah. What do you think, Jordan?
Yes, so there's a real power struggle, and I would say that, despite the obvious flaws in our system in 2026, it's still better than all the rest of them. You guys know plenty of, lobbyists and legislators, and there's a real process in DC. As much as we kind of despise a lot of these people, if you have enough energy, manpower, and resources, or if you can mobilize that, you can affect change at Washington, D.C. And, despite, all the blackpilling we see on the internet, that is a place where you can still accomplish something that, is near and dear to your values. So there's definitely a power struggle going on between Thune and Trump, but I'm not, so blackpilled on the process as I think that a lot of the online commentariat is. They seem to just have completely likened us to some one party state where everything is impossible and to accomplish. So but I think that the Senate historically and today has kind of acted to they kind of like to flex their power. It's a much more prestigious position than being a House member, so they like to kind of protect their power circle there.
As of Monday, there were still 84 a total of 84 Trump form of cabinet appointments or judicial appointments. It's April 2026, and there were still 84 cabinet and judicial appointments from Trump that still had not been confirmed by the Republican Senate yet. 84 on April 1st. 84.
Blue slips. I think we're making our way to black.
We just run out of those.
Now, yeah.
Can we not just run to Hobby Lobby and pick some up? Are those stuck in the Straits of Hormuz? Is that a supply chain issue? I mean, we're just out of blue slips, or
I think they're at the bottom of the Potomac, along with the rest of the sewage that seeped in.